welcome to the Mountain View School Division Community Outreach series of videos. My name is Thompson and I am the coordinator of ICT. I'm based out of the division office, but work with programming in all 16 of our buildings and all 7 of our Mountain View School Division communities. The purpose of this series of videos is to provide information for parents and families so that you feel informed, confident, and prepared to help the children in your lives use technology effectively. The videos in this series were actually selected by MVSD stakeholders through a digital survey. All videos are uploaded onto YouTube so that you can view them on your convenience. If you find that any questions arise as you're working through this series, please feel free to contact me directly and we can answer any of your questions. Mountain View School Division is a Microsoft division operating within the Office 365 learning platform. Now, Microsoft is an industry standard, offering features such as Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and these are excellent tools for collaboration, communication, and fostering 21st century skills for our students. Through the Office 365 program, we have additional series of videos where you can find information on how your child can log into their account, as well as some of the features that can be available for your home devices. That video will be linked in the comments below. Now, this video is actually going to be focusing on the learning tools that are automatically built into the Office 365 environment. Now, these are free tools designed to help make learning more accessible for all users. So as we explore these tools, this video is actually going to focus on 4 main areas. The first is just chatting a little bit more about the Office 365 platform in general. The second is going to be focusing specifically on supports for reading. The third, supports for writing. And then fourth, just some small additional tech tips and tricks that can assist the learners in your lives. As we move our way through, I am going to be discussing different videos linked directly from Microsoft that I will put in the comments below that you can check out for more information and demonstrations. But let's chat a little bit more about Office 365. We know that it operates within our divisional Microsoft platform. Some of the features that we really like about this tool is that it's accessible both at school and at home. There has been some instances in the past where we see specific programs built into student learning goals. However, they're only available at school. The programs that we're talking about today are available anywhere you have access to an internet connection. It's important to note that all 7 of our Mountain View School Division communities still maintains an exterior Wi-Fi hotspot on our buildings. I'll also link to those locations in the comments below. With these programs being accessible both at school and at home, we're really hoping for increased continuity with student programming. We want our students to realize that these are tools that can assist them throughout their life. Another wonderful thing about Microsoft, and I'll show you some examples here on the screen, is that they provide visual cues through the consistent use of both logos and colors. This can be incredibly beneficial if you have emerging readers as part of your household, because you don't necessarily have to read the program. You can develop visual schedules using these familiar logos and colors. So for example, this is the Word environment. You can see that we always have the Word logo and we have that bright recognizable blue color. Alternatively, if we switch to a program such as PowerPoint, you'll see again consistent logos and now you have that burnt orange color. Teams, consistent logo, now we have the purple. So if you are used to developing visual schedules for your learners, this can be a wonderful tool to help direct them to the programs that they need. Another great thing about the tools that we're going to be talking about is because Microsoft is such a recognizable platform, there are several third-party partners that are now using these learning tools as well. So if your child gets used to using these programs, it's very interesting that they're now going to start popping up in other programs that they might learn about. The whole list of third-party partnerships, again, is going to be linked in the comments below. So when we're talking about the learning tools availability, I always like to make reference to what Microsoft refers to as their periodic table of learning tools. When you first take a look at this graphic, I understand that it is incredibly busy. It can be a little bit visually cluttered, but lots of really good information in here. What you're going to see along the left-hand side is the specific learning tool that we're referring to. So you'll see at the top, it starts looking at the read aloud feature. As you work all the way down, you'll see that the math functions are at the bottom. From there, as you move your way across the screen, you'll see different places where these learning tools are built in based off of if you're on a desktop or an app, if you're on iOS, or if you're on Android. It is important to note that Microsoft continues to update this all the time. So I'm going to put a link to their learning tools page below so that you can always find the most up-to-date information. The first area that I want to look at is our reading supports. Now, in our learning tools, we are referring to something that's called Immersive Reader. Now, when I was working with our student services and clinicians team, they identified that Immersive Reader could be beneficial for students who are living with dyslexia, who may have a visual or hearing impairment, who are included in a spectrum disorder, who may be learning English as an additional language, or a variety of specific learning disabilities and special physical needs. Immersive Reader is built into a variety of platforms, so let's take a look at it in a little bit more detail. Of the tools that we're going to look at, Immersive Reader is probably the most robust platform, and if you take a peek again at this periodic table of learning tools, you'll see that what is built into Immersive Reader really does take up the majority of the periodic table. At its most basic level, it is a read aloud function, meaning that you can take any text that you might have, say digital text or text that's on a book, on a poster, something that's tangible that the student has in their hands, and it can be read aloud to them. Very, very cool. However, as you move in and explore this tool in a little bit more detail, there are lots of different features available. So I'm going to bring up an example so that we can look at all of these features together. Now, Immersive Reader is built into a variety of programs and tools as part of the Microsoft suite. What I have in front of me is a Word document, which happens to be one of the standard programs that teachers tend to use in their classroom with a lot of frequency. The specific program that I have in front of me right now has a grade 4 comprehension reading page in front. When I take a look at this, what I am going to do is I am going to go across on the ribbons, if you can follow my icon, and I'm going to go to View. From here, I'm going to access Immersive Reader. If we go back to our discussion about visual schedules and using the same types of logos for our emerging readers, Immersive Reader is always represented with this open book with a speaker icon. So you can use this to help your student find Immersive Reader across all of the tools that they may use. When I select Immersive Reader, it is going to change the view to focus only on the text. Now, please keep in mind, especially if this is a document that students are creating, it doesn't change any of the editing or the formatting that they've done. It's purely pulling that information out so that it can be more easily interpreted. Now, when I take a look at this, again, at its most basic level, it is a read aloud function. So let's take a look at what that looks like.
Funny faces. Liz stared at the large envelopes in Mr. Mason's hand. The school pictures were here. Liz had been so excited on picture day.
Now, when I'm working with our teachers and students, I always remind them that there will be trial and error as you determine how these learning tools best fit into your programming. I think of it like as when you go to the optometrist and you are trying to try different lenses. And they put them on and they ask you, is this better or is it worse? You may find that you want to experiment with the settings to determine, is this better or is this worse for comprehension? So there are voice settings you can change to make the voice slower or to speed it up really fast. I find that especially our younger students, they like to play around with this quite a bit. You can also change the voice selection so that it includes a different decibel range. We have certain students that find it more easy or more difficult to listen to a certain range. So you can experiment with those as well. Remember, I did say that it, at its most basic level, is a read aloud, but there are many different features also built into this. You can look across at the top for 3 different features. The first one I'm going to look at is text preferences. From here, you can change the size of the text so that it's more easy to see. And by default, I have mine to increase the spacing, but you can see that if this were to be deselected, the words are much more close together. So by increasing the spacing, it can be more easy for some students to focus on the specific word. You will also notice that there's different fonts that you can select. These fonts do have research behind them to support that they may decrease certain symptoms of dyslexia. I'll link to that research in the comments as well. You can also change the theme. So I know for many of us, we've been looking at screens with much more frequency than we normally have in the past. You can change it into dark mode. However, if your student processes different colors, you can change the colors without having to worry about photocopying on different colored paper. Once you've selected your font preferences, you can go across and also experiment with showing the syllables. Just show the difference between that, especially helpful for new vocabulary. And you can also identify the parts of speech. This can be very helpful for students as they self-assess their work, especially English papers. So you can see how you can turn those on and off, and they're identified with different colors. As you move across, you can then go into reading preference. You can choose line focus. So if your learner usually reads by having a ruler or a paint stick and focusing one line at a time, that can be built into the program directly. And there is also a built-in picture dictionary so that if they select a vocabulary word, not only can it read it aloud to them, but it can help develop a picture dictionary. These pictures can then be printed off if you're working with visual schedules or visual cues. So very interesting to help build vocabulary. If your child is involved in English language immersion, you can also translate. And so I am going to go in and select our French Canadian because we happen to have a French immersion program as part of our division. And I'm going to translate that automatically. From here, you can still access our read aloud features.
Visage drôle. Lise regarda les grandes enveloppes dans la main de Monsieur Mazon. Les photos de l'école et des...
This can also be helpful if you yourself or other adults in your household are involved in the child's life are using a language other than English. Similar to what we're seeing with our language tools, Microsoft is also adding more languages as time goes on. So that was a very quick demo of the Immersive Reader feature. I showed you what it looks like in a Word document because that's kind of a standard program that our schools will use with a lot of frequency. However, it's available across a variety of platforms, things like PowerPoint, our Teams, Forms, Minecraft, Flipgrid. A lot of these are programs that your students may use with their teachers. I'm going to link below so that you can see what this looks like across all of the different programs. What's also important to know is that it is available as a mobile app. So if you have students who have their own devices and are comfortable and confident using their own devices independently, it can be something that they download through what's referred to as the Office Lens app, available both for iOS and Android, and it can allow them to have this tool with them on the go. Very neat because that allows them to take pictures and get Immersive Reader automatically for any of the texts that they may encounter in their lives. All of this information, again, will be linked below in the comments. The second primary tool that we're going to look at is designed to assist with writing supports. And this is a tool that Microsoft refers to as Dictate. When I was working with our student services team and our clinicians, they identified that this tool could be beneficial for students with special physical needs, specific learning disabilities, are living with dyslexia, visual impairments, or who may be learning English as an additional language. Now, when we look again at that periodic table of elements, you'll notice that Dictate is along the bottom. It is offered primarily in OneNote, Word, PowerPoint, and as part of Windows 10 itself if you happen to have a Windows-enabled device. Let's take a look a little bit more at what Dictate looks like in person. Now again, I have a Word document open because that is a common program that our teachers will use, and Dictate's actually available right on the home ribbon. If we're going back again to talk about logos and common images, Dictate is represented by that old school microphone icon. So you can identify that students can go to that icon. When you click on it, it will allow them to take their own voice and transcribe that automatically to text on the screen. Very interesting for students who have a lot of information that they can share, but that typing or writing is presenting a barrier for them. So here's a demo of exactly what that looks like. This is an example of the Microsoft Dictate feature, which can take a student's voice and automatically convert it to text. Now, the last thing I want to share about today is some of the additional tools that Mountain View School Division is implementing to not only make technology more accessible, but to facilitate login and interaction with our devices so that students have an easier time accessing the learning tools that we just learned about. The first being clever badges. Now, our divisional devices require a username and password. And if we're working with students who are perhaps still learning their letter recognition or require assistance with fine motor development, sometimes simply putting in the username and password can be a cause of concern. To assist with this, we've implemented something called Clever Badges. These paper badges feature a QR code with the student's name, and when displayed in front of the webcam of one of our computers, will initiate an automatic login into that device for the student. In addition to providing access to the device, we can set up a dashboard that will allow the student to be automatically logged into other accounts, such as their Office 365, for immediate access to the learning tools that we just described. These Clever Badges are automatically pushed out to all students at the K-3 level, as well as anybody who has an identified need through our student services program. Lastly, for our students who are used to working with interactive screens, including tablets, as well as our interactive display boards, we want to ensure that we are finding a positive balance between the use of these devices with their fine motor development. There is research to suggest that extensive use of a touchscreen tablet might be disadvantageous for the fine motor development of our younger learners. What we have done is for all K-1 classrooms, we have provided a tablet stylus. This allows these learners to interact with the screens using a stylus that will mimic the fine motor development skills that are similar to when they're holding a pencil grasp. Now, this video is a very quick overview, and I can't begin to provide the depth of information, not only about the tools, but about addressing the needs of the wide spectrum of our learners. If you have any questions at any time about how to use digital tools with your children and accessing these accessibility tools, please reach out to your classroom teacher and ask how they're being used in the classroom. And again, please check out all of the comments and resources that are available in the comments below. The information in there will be direct from Microsoft and will always provide the most updated information, as we know that tech can change very quickly. I want to thank you for taking part in our community outreach series of videos. I hope that the information that was shared today helps you feel more informed and prepared to use technology with the students that are in your lives. If you have any questions about the information that was shared today, please feel free to reach out to me directly. My contact information is on the screen. And share this video with anyone you feel may benefit from the information. Have a great day.